Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Gran Turismo 7 to, well, review another of the new cars that have come to the Gran Turismo series as of this game. And today we're going to be looking at the Radical SR3 SL, which, as you can see, is available in many vibrant colours, which is, well, excellent news. I'm kind of debating whether to go with... Ooh, that's actually a Gulf colour. Kind of debating whether to go with green, yellow or orange at the moment. So I ended up going for the very nice tangerine orange on the Radical SR3 SL, to give it its full name. I'm guessing SL means super light or something, although all Radicals probably are. Anyway, this particular one produces 239 horsepower, weighs only 775 kilos, and here in Gran Turismo it costs 126,000 credits, which isn't too bad going, I don't think. So to give you a quick background on Radical, they were set up in 1997 and they're based in Peterborough here in the United Kingdom, and they build track-only racing cars as well as road legal style track day kind of vehicles, a bit like this one. Some models even come with features such as roofs and windscreens, which is impressive for a small track day car company like this. The current model of SR3 seems to be, will have a slightly smaller engine, produce a little bit less power, and therefore have slightly lower performance than this one, but I'm not sure exactly what the differences are. This is obviously a 2013 model, so it's a little bit older. The inside is very basic and has advisory turn-off switches when not in use and things like this. But yeah, there's not really much to it, nor is there much to say about it. It's a lightweight, track-focused car, so we should probably go and see what it's like on a track. So immediately, it's very nice to drive. It kind of feels like a racing car here. Well, I mean, that's kind of almost what it is, but it's just got endless grip. I know it's not the most powerful thing in the world, we're not going at the highest speeds, but it just seems to have grip and downforce forever. It feels like the grip of an all-wheel drive car. It's just not going to let go and not going to crash, which is going to be very nice when I try and set a fast lap time in it, because, well, I'm not going to be constantly trying to keep the car on the track. I'm just going to be going for it. Yes, you can kick the back out if you try. I've kind of found myself in interior without really meaning to be, but yeah, it's quite basic. It's got all the information you need on that nice central display, and, well, nothing else really, which is, well, all you want when you're racing around a track, to be honest. So yeah, it doesn't feel too bad. Let's go back to... exterior for a minute, just so that you can get a good view of the car. And, well, interestingly enough, it's the first British car I've bought on here, or that I have in the garage here on Gran Turismo, which is something that needs to be fixed. I need many more of them. Anyway, I'm gonna go and see what the best lap time I can set is in the Radical. So, as with any of the other cars that I'm taking a look at here in Gran Turismo 7, I took it for, well, 5 flying laps around the circuit after the first little look at the car that you saw at the beginning there, and, well, this is the fastest lap that I managed to set. And, well, as I thought when I first drove it there, it is just really nice to drive. You just turn in and it goes. I did occasionally get the back kicking out slightly, but it wasn't anything that was ever going to, well, pull the car round, basically. Sometimes the back kind of came out a little bit, but it actually helped the car round the corner in any of those cases. And as you can see, I'm kind of right on the edge of the track, using as much tarmac as I possibly can, which, well, you could put it wherever you wanted it, basically. It would just point wherever you pointed it would go. Whereas with a lot of other cars, I've kind of been, well, fighting them a bit, particularly rear-wheel drive cars. But yeah, something with not that much power that weighs nothing, it kind of does that. Yes, it wasn't quite as fast. I think the fastest speed I saw was about 140, but some parts of the track were just so nice to drive. The final corner was in fact flat in this, which it kind of was in other cars, but they were a bit on edge and you had to get the line right. This, you didn't have to really worry about it, it would just take that corner flat however you approached it. So yeah, pretty hard to make a mistake in this car. It was really, really nice to drive, but potentially lost a bit of time on the straights. But so far I am absolutely loving the Radical, and well, I haven't actually checked how the time compares to other cars yet, but it will be interesting to see because they're obviously all a lot more powerful, faster on the straights, but a lot heavier, so we'll be losing time in the corners, as you can see, completely flat around the final corner and across the line. So it turns out it's not actually that fast, as we can see from the convenient in-game leaderboard. Please add this Forza so festival laps are easier to edit together. But anyway, yeah, it is 7th, so kind of, well, midway between a Porsche GT3 RS and a, well, Genesis. So you'd expect it to be faster than a big heavy saloon. But yeah, behind all three supercars that I've taken round, which again is probably to be expected. It is kind of lacking power. It is only 521 performance points here in Gran Turismo. It does only have 239 horsepower, so overall not really a bad lap time. But anyway, let's go and see what customization options are available for the Radical. So I did quickly go and check in the car maintenance section, which I'm still confused as to why it's there, for a wide body, and well, unsurprisingly there weren't any. I'm not sure what to do with wheels. I do quite like the ones that are on there with the sort of centre locks, so I probably won't put these on. As for custom parts and... okay, this is one of the first cars I've kind of found that doesn't have that many options. You can do the lights, but I'm not sure why you would. You can put a front plate on. That's like a stickery one. Or that one. I'm not sure what's on the back. Is the one on the back a standard Radical? Okay, so you can put a Gran Turismo on that doesn't really fit. Let's go with that, just so that I've done something, I guess. But yeah, not all that many options. So unfortunately I couldn't paint the car without it removing the standard livery, which kind of ruined the look of the car a bit. As for upgrades, I did manage to get it to 715 or something, and then brought the power down to about 86% of its potential, which is still 350 horsepower. The car is capable of producing 400 if I turn it right up, but limited it slightly. It's not massively powerful. You can't make it any lighter, obviously, but it's got some better tyres and things like that on it, so... well, it's now at 700, which is where all of the previous upgraded cars I took round were, which of course is the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and the, not Infinity. I keep wanting to call it an Infinity, the Genesis. So it'll be interesting to see if it can beat that, because I think that one is currently leading the leaderboard. So as with the stock version, I took it for another 5 laps, well, actually 4 laps, because I crashed midway through the 5th one, trying to push harder, basically. So it still had the 5 laps, but I messed up on the 5th one, basically. And this being the fastest one. But it was just incredible, this car. It was even more, the kind of grip and the confidence I had in the car and the downforce it had was all amplified with the upgrades, because obviously I did tyres and things like that, as well as adding a bit of power. So I think potentially I should have gone more down the power route and not put the full race tyres on, because it was already fantastic in the corners and it still lacked speed a little bit here, although it had more power than it did back then. But yeah, maybe I should have put a few less handling upgrades on and, well, allowed it to run the full 400 horsepower that it's capable of, rather than limiting it to 350. You see, sliding it out of that corner there, trying to get the power down. But it would slide like that, but I'd know it wasn't going to let go, so it was really fun to kind of throw it around. And a rear-wheel drive car like this that kind of allows you to have a bit of fun like that if you want to, but is not going to let you slide out, and yeah, it's just so good through the corners, this thing. But that was kind of to be expected, wasn't it? I mean, it's a track day, open, very light car, basically, isn't it? It's going to handle well. But yeah, luckily the upgrades didn't entirely ruin it, which is often what happens with if you start with a good handling car. But anyway, there we go, around the final corner and across the line. So, as you can see from the ranking board, not only did it feel very fast, it in fact was pretty fast. Because if we look at the Mercedes and the Ferrari F8, they're both in the 36s here. Up to 32 for the Radical. It is still, well, nearly 2 seconds slower than the Genesis. Well, not a second and a half slower, basically, isn't it? Because that's a 30. Anyway, it is still slower than a massive saloon car. I think what this is showing is that all-wheel drive is a massive advantage, because the Genesis should not be faster than a Radical. Although I think it did have more power, so it must have made up a lot of that ground on the straights, but it handled fantastically as well, the Genesis, because of that all-wheel drive. So I think all-wheel drive is a bit of an unfair advantage, maybe, in Gran Turismo. But yeah, it's still 4 seconds, almost exactly 4 seconds faster than the Ferrari that was modified to what should be the same performance point level. So, amazingly fast car, which I'm pleased to see because, well, it was so nice to drive and felt really quick, actually. So, it's good to see that it actually was. So, there we go. That is going to do it for a first look at the Radical here on Gran Turismo 7. Another new addition to the Gran Turismo franchise, a car we've not seen before. Drives fantastically, is pretty quick, especially when modified. Standard, it's hard to tell because we didn't have anything that similar to compare it to. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with it as my first British car to have bought in Gran Turismo 7. I do need to fix that though and buy some others because, yeah, there definitely needs to be more of them in my garage. But yeah, the Radical is, well, it drives fantastically. It's really fun to drive, so even if it wasn't fast, I'd recommend you went and got it. But modified, it seems to do pretty well against other rear-wheel drive cars, at least. Maybe not quite up there with some of the all-wheel drive machines, but anyway, given how reasonably priced it is in the world of Gran Turismo, I really think, well, anybody that has this game should go out and give this car a go, because, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and something, well, a bit different, kind of track-focused car to a lot of the ones we usually get in these games. There is a slightly different Radical, I think, in Forza, but that's about as close as you get to this car. But yeah, absolutely love driving this thing, and, well, hopefully I'll come back and drive it some more. Maybe it might even be eligible for some of the races we do in the playthrough on some of the streams. But anyway, for now, that is going to do it for a first look at the Radical SR3 SL here on Gran Turismo 7. So do let me know if you've enjoyed this, because there's potential for many of the other new cars that have come to the game for me to have a look at, as well as, well, some of my old favourites maybe at some point as well. But for now, for a first look at the Radical, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.